Hi there everyone, I'm living in your walls, and welcome back to On the Flip Side. My name is Adam Shawwalker, your host, and today we're going to be checking out this new album from Witchery, Nightside. This is now the 8th studio album from the Swedish-based blackened thrash band, and really I think it's a pretty good entry into their catalog. Their last album, I Am Legion, had some good material on it, but I still have had a hard time getting past the production work, which I would call rough at best. But this new album, Nightside, is really well put together, and it's not necessarily because anything new is brought to the table, more so because the angle of approach is tight and it's focused and the production issues have been more or less resolved here. Really what this album feels like to me is a love letter to thrash metal, old school death metal, black metal, and really most of the more extreme and fringe genres of metal. This album is tight, man, and it goes by fast with like 11 tracks that go by in about 36 minutes. And there is a pretty narrow lane of focus here, which for this style should be expected, but there are some moments where things get a little bit more adventurous, namely the interlude Wir Steten Flammen, which translates to He is on Fire, which I'm sure I didn't pronounce correctly. This is an interlude and a lead-in to the track Pope Crusher, which in itself is a great track, but I just love what they have done here. Like I said, it's not any new ideas, but this is just so well done as a runway to kick off Pope Crusher, which is one of the best tracks here. It's a very self-aware, over-the-top track that channels some very pure evil. It's pretty kick-ass. And I mean, every track on this album has a hefty pile of riffs pulled from pretty much every metal playbook imaginable. There's some classic death metal riffs, there's some doom metal riffs, there's crushing modern hardcore riffs in here. It's like a really great buffet of riffs, really. Like, you pick what you like in these songs, and there's probably more heaping piles of that element all over this thing. It's really solid work. A lot of it reminds me of some of the older Skeleton Witch stuff, which does make sense. One thing that I'm not really super fired up about is that this is apparently a concept album, and I'm super neutral about that here because it's not really incredibly apparent, but as one of the pieces here, one of the things in motion, it's fairly negligible. I wouldn't say it takes away from anything though, it's just something to kind of keep in mind during listens. Also, another thing is that this album is definitely enjoyed best at a high volume, preferably with some kind of activity to pair with it. And that's not to say this album is only enjoyable in certain scenarios, but it's better under a certain context. As far as the really strong tracks here go, we already covered He is on Fire and Pope Crusher, but the intro track, Witching Hour, is killer with its very high-tempo blast beats and its crushing guitar waves. And the vocal work for this intro song lands so well too, with a great black metal meets death metal delivery. It's got a bit of that cold, razor-sharp classic black metal sound, but it's aided with a great low end that fills things out very nicely. Don't Burn the Witch is pretty much as pure of a track as you can get here. It's heavy, it's catchy, there's a thick and chunky driving beat here. I do think it is a bit of a fast burn, but this is still a great song. Though I think where this album shines the most is on its later half, from Under the Altar all the way through the last track, Nightside. All of the tracks from that point on are a punishing gauntlet of songs that are really high quality. Really, I think the weakest songs here are probably Storm of the Unborn and Left Hand March, and thankfully with this album's pace, those songs really don't stick around for too long. But yeah, the second half is great. It really feels like they're hitting on a bit of like a Slayer wave here and just nailing it. And the final track, Nightside, hits again and again with these doom metal sections that really help cap off the whole sound of the album quite nicely. Also, the track, A Forest of Burning Coffins. Are you kidding me? This song is insane. It's whatever people think of when someone calls a track face-ripping. That's what this song is. It is blisteringly fast, and it's just total thrash worship. I personally love it. I think a lot of what this album sets out to do, it does confidently and in great quantity. I do think that there could have been some kinks ironed out, but this is still a really good album. I'm thinking that Nightside, this album, probably a 7, maybe an 8. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this album in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe and check out my Instagram, my Reverb, and my Depop. Links to those are in the description below. Thank you all so much again, and we'll see you on the flip side.